Hello, I'm Savannah Nixon, and I will be talking about the Baia cyanide spill. So let's get started. So this spill actually occurred on January 30th of the year 2000. So this was actually a spill that occurred mainly when the dam that contained a lot of toxic material from the gold mines that were existing at that time. They burst and released 100,000 cubic meters of wastewater, which was huge. And you might be wondering why there's a picture of fish. So, due to the excessive amounts of snowfall that the dam actually was holding, is what started to lead to it to burst. So then that's what made all of the water spill over, and it spilled over actually into farmlands and then into the Solms River. So the Solms River is what contained a lot of fish, and fish were actually the main, affected of this spill. So the wastewater that was actually spilled over was what was contaminated with cyanide. So, if you don't know what cyanide is, it is highly toxic and it can actually be lethal to humans, even whenever it comes in small doses. Cyanide is often used for extracting gold from sources that have a lot of amounts of gold. So, whenever this happened, it made a big threat not only to fish, but even to the human health because a lot of their water was mainly affected. Reasons for the incident that occurred are actually still under investigation this day. The only conclusion they mainly made is that it's unusual meteorological conditions caused the dam to burst. So there's not really another main answer besides that. Other than maybe the higher temperatures caused a quick thaw, and that could have made the water burst into the dam. So they actually knew that the dam had been leaking since December of 1999, which was pretty interesting because they knew about it prior to its bursting, but the country paid people to cover the traces of the leaking, which was really interesting in my opinion. And so most would say that the gold mines were responsible for this incident, but you really don't have one person that you can blame and make them take responsibility of it in this situation. So the only main personal effects were this: that 2.5 million people had their drinking water contaminated. Of course, I mentioned that the fish were the main ones that were affected, which is why there's, of course, photos of the fish. So this spill, it has also been known as one of the worst environmental disasters to occur in Europe. So the mine's part owner, which was the Australian company, it was an Australian company, he said that the overflow was caused by heavy rain and snow rather than a structural failure. So like I mentioned before, it was just environmental conditions. So the firm actually denied that the leak was an environmental disaster. So it's like you have some going one way and some going another way. So a water expert that I actually read up on said, I think it is accepted by the mining industry that accidents do happen, and occasionally there are overspills, such as in Romania, due to heavy snowfall, but these are risks that can be anticipated. So the mining industry seemed quite laid back about those risks. And then he also go on to mention, he said, to me, it's not good enough to just call it an accident when it occurs in Central Europe. You know it's not an accident, it has to be a bad design at the outset, which goes back to how they knew that there was a leak prior to the actual disaster that happened. So overall, I would say this was a pretty interesting environmental issue that occurred back in 2000. There wasn't much research that is posted to the internet about it, but I feel like it is a really good one that most people should know about it. So this was mainly about the cyanide and how it really affected this water for everyone's surroundings. But overall, this was a great one to read about. Thank you.